Hi, I'm Abigail Hendershot, Executive Director of the Michigan PFAS Action Response Team. I'm glad you've joined us today to talk about PFAS basics and your health. So we're going to walk through some basics of PFAS. And specifically, we're going to start with what MPART is, because it's important for you to know. MPART is the Michigan PFAS Action Response Team. Started as an executive order in 2019. It really lends itself to this very unique multi-agency approach that leads to cooperation and coordination of PFAS issues across the state. Helps us direct our implementation of PFAS investigations and public health responses. MPART is made up of 7 different agencies, including the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes and Energy, Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Michigan Agriculture and Rural Development, the Department of Natural Resources, Department of Transportation. LARA is our Fire Marshal's Division, and then the Department of Military and Veterans Affairs. So what is PFAS? PFAS is an acronym for a family of compounds called per and polyfluoral alkaline substances. They have very strong, they're one of the strongest naturally, one of the strongest bonds, chemical bonds in nature. It's a very strong carbon-fluorine bond, and it makes a lot of different products very convenient for us because they repel water, oils, fats, and grease. We started developing them in the late 1940s. They continue. Now we have thousands and thousands of compounds now that use PFAS substances for commercial uses. So some of those uses include the Scotchgard carpets, our carpet cleaning products, food packaging, our furnishings. You might have been asked if you wanted your couch Scotchgarded before it came home, your cosmetics, your outdoor gear where you have waterproofing, your Gore-Tex clothes, adhesives and sealants, your waterproofing your shoes, some of the early day Teflon pans, and then firefighting foam, specifically AFFF Class B foam, is because not all firefighting foams are PFAS containing. Those they use for wood fires, for structure fires, are different than those that they use for petroleum fires. So why are we concerned? Why are you here today to hear about PFAS? PFAS are widespread in the environment. We're finding them finding PFAS in a lot of different medias, including the groundwater, the soils, and surface water. And PFAS does not naturally biodegrade. We don't see that it's going to break down naturally in the environment. And we are finding that it actually does. Some of the PFAS will actually bioaccumulate in our bodies and in fish, which you will hear about here in a second. Some of the PFAS we know do have health effects, which is why we are here today to talk to you about it. And there's information being developed and research happening on PFAS, but that information is still in the early stages. And so at this point, we're still investigating. There are state standards for PFAS for 7 different compounds, but at the federal level, there are no PFAS standards set by EPA or any of the other federal agencies. So this diagram here shows you some of the ways in which PFAS can circulate throughout our environment. PFAS can be emitted from a industry that might use or produce PFAS. It might get directly into the ground or into the stream, and then it might go through a wastewater treatment plant. The wastewater treatment plants are not designed to treat PFAS, and so that PFAS will pass through the plant and enter into sludges or into the direct discharge to a stream and or to biosolids. There's many different ways in which PFAS circulates. We want to be able to cut those off. I'll just mention a few other things. There's a lot of ways here you'll see on this diagram where PFAS can enter the groundwater in the rivers, which can be a source of water for drinking water for homes. And so there's a lot of opportunities for that contamination to happen, which is why it's important that people understand what they are drinking and understand those influences. Residential homes also have sources of PFAS in them, as we talked about. And so there is, some evidence that septic fields also contain levels of PFAS. So it's a very complex system in our ecosystem for PFAS, and MPART's job is to try to understand and study those occurrences and figure out best management practices for breaking the PFAS cycle. So part of the MPART work has been to investigate sites around the state, sites that include military bases, landfills, chrome platers, airports, automotive facilities, etc. Sites where we know we have sources of groundwater contamination for PFAS, and sites where the nearby residential drinking water wells are being evaluated to ensure their safety from PFAS sources. These kinds of sites usually involve investigations of other pathways, including surface water for soils, groundwater movement, etc. And here is Bill Farrell to talk to you about PFAS and health.
Thanks, Abby. Hi, everyone. My name is Bill Farrell. I'm a toxicologist with the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and I'm going to talk a little bit about PFAS and health. Next slide, please. So how are you exposed to PFAS chemicals? The main route of exposure, the most significant route of exposure, is typically ingestion of PFAS. Drinking contaminated water. These sites that we're working at across the state, the most significant exposures that we're finding are PFAS in people's drinking water wells. Also, as Abby mentioned, PFAS can bioaccumulate not only in humans, but also biota. So eating fish caught from water contaminated by PFAS is another potential route of exposure to PFAS chemicals. Michigan Department of Health and Human Services issues Eat Safe Fish consumption guidelines. And you can find information on that at the website michigan.gov/eatsafefish. Incidental swallowing of contaminated soil or dust is another route of exposure. Eating food packaged in materials containing PFAS. Using some consumer products is another route of exposure. And PFAS absorption through the skin is typically not a concern because PFAS chemicals are not easily absorbed through the skin. Next slide, please. So as we mentioned before, PFAS bioaccumulate in humans. And this slide shows the average concentrations of several PFAS chemicals in the blood of residents in the United States over time. And this slide comes from a study done by CDC. It's called the National Health and Nutrition Examination Survey. And what that is it's just a study that's been going on for years where they study the nutritional habits of people in the United States. And as part of that study, they also collect blood samples and analyze the blood samples for chemicals that are known to bioaccumulate. And in 2000, they started collecting blood samples from residents in the United States and analyzing those blood samples for PFAS. And I want you to pay particular attention to this slide, the upper line in green. And that shows the average PFOS concentration of residents in the United States beginning in 2000. As you see, in 2000, the average concentration was about 30 micrograms per liter. And then you move to 2014, you see there's been a decline in the average concentration to around 6 micrograms per liter. And the reason for this is that in 2002, the United States stopped the use and manufacture of two specific PFAS, PFOS and PFOA, in products that were manufactured in the United States. So as a result of stopping the use of those two particular chemicals in the United States, you saw a decline in exposure. And as a result, you see a decline in the average concentrations in residents in the United States blood over the years. Next slide, please. So most of what we know about associated health effects associated with exposure to PFOA and PFOS come from studies of animals and human epidemiological studies. And this slide shows some of those associated health outcomes. And they include reduced fertility, high blood pressure or preeclampsia in pregnant women, small decreases in infant birth weight, higher cholesterol, especially total cholesterol and LDL cholesterol. Next slide, please. Thyroid disease, liver damage, decreased immune system response to vaccines, developing certain types of cancer, in particular kidney and testicular cancers. Next slide, please. So when we investigate these PFAS sites, we typically work with the local health department to evaluate results and make public health determinations. Some of these public health response actions could include no public health actions necessary. We may recommend the use of alternative water, a filter alternative water. And typically, in a lot of cases, the filter is provided because we need time to conduct more investigation. We need time to understand if levels could change over time, if levels could fluctuate. So the filters provide us with that level of protection while we can continue to do investigation in the area. And another response may just be education, providing people with information on PFAS in drinking water. Next slide, please. And as I mentioned, one of the response actions that we may provide is a point of use filter. A point of use filter is a filter that you install usually under the kitchen sink or wherever you get your drinking water. And what it does is it filters water that you use for drinking and cooking, because as I mentioned, typically other household uses water for like washing dishes, laundering, bathing, showering. It's not a concern. It's typically, we're just trying to reduce the exposure where you get the greatest amount of PFAS, and that's through drinking water. And when we provide point of use filters, we provide filters that are certified to remove PFOA and PFOS. And the certification is a specific certification referred to sometimes as a P473 certification or an ANSI 53 certification. So if you are interested in for your own purposes, looking at providing a filter, using a filter or something, you want to make sure that you get the filter that's certified to remove PFOA and PFOS.
Hi, I'm Sydney Rahala. I'm a geologist at the Michigan Department of Environment, Great Lakes, and Energy, and I'm here today to talk about the Muskegon County Wastewater Management System Metro Wastewater Treatment Plant site investigation for PFAS. If you have any questions or concerns, please contact me at the information provided on the slide. The Muskegon County Wastewater Management System Metro Wastewater Treatment Plant, hereafter called the Muskegon County Wastewater Treatment Plant, is located at 698 North Maple Island Road and went into full operation in 1974. The wastewater treatment plant is designed to treat 42 million gallons of wastewater per day. The treatment system includes aeration cells, aerated settling cells, storage lagoons, spray irrigation of stabilized wastewater on the crops, under drains to collect the irrigation water, and interception ditches to collect site leakage for treatment by rapid infiltration basins. The treated wastewater that is collected is discharged to the Muskegon River. Some of the uncollected treated wastewater also discharges to the groundwater. Sampling at the Muskegon County Wastewater Treatment Plant found PFAS in the treated wastewater, including PFOS and PFOA. The county evaluated potential sources of PFAS to the wastewater treatment plant and identified leachate from the county-owned landfill located adjacent to the wastewater treatment plant, as shown on the map, as well as wastewater from various industries and groundwater cleanups containing PFAS. Estimated regional groundwater flow direction in the vicinity of the wastewater treatment plant is to the west-southwest, as shown by the blue arrows on the map. The wastewater treatment plant also has many groundwater monitoring wells, as shown by the red and white circles on the map. Due to elevated concentrations of PFAS in the wastewater treatment plant, EGLE required that Muskegon County sample a portion of the wastewater treatment plant's monitoring wells for PFAS. As of May 2021, 23 monitoring wells have been sampled and are color-coded on the map by solid green, yellow, or red circles. The color represents the concentration detected, and the letter in the circle represents the depth of the well as described in the legend. Of the 23 monitoring wells evaluated, 3 exceeded the groundwater protection criteria for PFOS and/or PFOA. That is the 2 wells located between the storage lagoons and 1 in the northwest corner, as shown by the solid red circles on the map. If we zoom in on the northwest corner of the site, you can see that adjacent to the Muskegon County wastewater treatment plant is the Maple Island Estates mobile home community. The mobile home community has a former wastewater treatment plant consisting of treatment lagoons that are no longer in use. The mobile home community is currently working with EGLE to properly close these treatment lagoons. As part of the closure process, 2 groundwater monitoring wells around the mobile home community's lagoons were sampled for PFAS. One of the wells exceeded the groundwater protection criteria for PFOA. In addition, the drinking water supply wells for the mobile home community were sampled for PFAS and showed low-level detections of PFAS, but did not exceed criteria. EGLE is currently working with Muskegon County to continue investigating the extent of PFAS contamination in this area. However, due to the wells with exceedances of groundwater protection criteria near the Maple Island Estates mobile home community and the Muskegon County wastewater treatment plant's northwest site perimeter, EGLE, the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, and Public Health Muskegon County have decided to sample residential wells for PFAS on the west side of the Maple Island Estates mobile home community out of an abundance of caution. The residential well sampling is planned for homes within the area outlined in yellow on the map, specifically north and south of White Road and west of North Maple Island Road. So what do you need to know about the residential well sampling? Sampling will be done at no cost to the homeowner. Letters will be sent or hand delivered to the residents. Sampling will be done by an EGLE contractor. Those contractors will wear a badge as shown on the right in the field to identify themselves. And sampling will be done at an outdoor spigot if available. EGLE and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services will evaluate the residential well results and expand sampling if the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, working with Public Health Muskegon County, will also coordinate any health response needed. If you are interested in having your well tested for PFAS, return the permission form included with your letter by email or regular mail. EGLE staff or the contractor will contact you before they arrive to collect your sample. As I mentioned at the beginning of the presentation, if you have any questions or concerns, please reach out to me. Thank you.